Guys, I haven't fallen off the wagon. Um, these birds that are chirping in the background, I don't know what I'm going to do about them, but I'm just gonna move on, cause I cannot be bothered. Hey people of the tube, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry. First things first, an apology. We listen, we don't judge. I had batch created some content but had difficulty editing because of some space that was going on. I had some work engagement that required me. So I was leaving my house very early and come back very late and couldn't get around to creating content in the meantime. But I'm here now. Boy, these birds that are chirping, I'm back at it again. As they're making their own music, I'll make my own music as well. But I'm here. Have you all been? I think I'm in a good place. In fact, yesterday I put up something on my WhatsApp status. I had said I'm really excited about this season. Less noise, laser focus. I'm able to see possibilities, and it's important that I highlight this because the current season I'm in actually doesn't look good. It doesn't look like I'm in a good place. Things aren't exactly what you would expect them to be in terms of stability, work-wise, life-wise. This is transition season for me, but I'm in a good place. And I'm so grateful that my consciousness of God's hand and God's trustworthy management of my seasons, of my future, of my life is front and center for me right now. So yeah, in fact, a couple of days ago, I was catching up with an old friend and he was asking me about something I had mentioned in, I think it was in February. And if the stuff I had shared with him, there was a positive outcome to it. And I just go, look, things haven't changed. There isn't much by way of status reports. At least not in the way that I envisioned what a positive outcome would be. But I actually realized I'm okay. I'm in a great place. Because in that moment, I wasn't feeling that crushing weight of disappointment. I just felt a sense of calm and peace and just knowing that something great is coming, something better is ahead, things are actually working in my favor, whether I see it or not. So I'm happy, I'm glad, I'm excited. Anywho, to the conversation of today, like I said earlier, and let me preface this conversation again by saying that I'm currently in what I call transition season. I had ended last year so burnt out. In fact, I jokingly would tell people who were just checking in on me, asking me how I was doing, that I was fighting for my life. I actually really wasn't joking. I was fighting for my peace. I was fighting for my esteem. I was fighting for definitions of my identity. I was fighting for just plain joy and wonder at if my future was ever going to be better than what I was saying. Yeah, it was bad. Because I guess I had gone on a train ride that just kept getting worse and worse. I was living in dread and anxiety every day. My fight or flight instincts were working overtime, and it just felt like I couldn't catch a break, like the wheel wasn't stopping. I was pouring, but my cup stayed empty, no refills. It really was a terrible place to be. There was 1 month where I cried every single day of that month. And I was saying to myself, Lisa, you're not strong enough. Looking back now, I wonder why I was quick to downplay what my God-given gut was screaming out loud at me. Why was it easier to accept? Why was it easier to accept what I knew was deep down fundamentally wrong? And thinking about it now, I realized that God has gifted us the gift of disquiet, of the friction of your gut instincts, sort of like as alarm clocks or safety mechanisms. And an important lesson that we all need to learn. I think I remember talking about this in the last video podcast where I had on the life coach, Bodunde. And what had crystallized for us in that conversation was that we need to learn to be okay with the disquiet, with the discomfort in your gut, those relentless nudges that are tugging at you, to see the mismatch between where you are and the wonder of who you can be or where you can get to and the expressions that you're capable of. Because to be honest, while all of that was happening, it was like there was a cloud of witnesses just reinforcing or echoing the fact that it was time to get off that train, from conversations to inner witnesses to even the things I was reading. The message was clear: get off this train now. But I stayed on. Anywho, I finally got off that train late last year, but by then, some damage had been done. A lot of damage had been done. And so by the time this new year began, in the middle of the soul work I was convinced I was doing, I wasn't healing. I was still smarting from the pain, from the hurt, from the offense. I was mad. But my anger was really just a defense mechanism against really opening up the wound for proper treatment. And here's how I know I wasn't healing, because between the start of the year and up until very recently, like this week, stuff would happen, opportunities or situations would come my way, and my default response was a copy and paste of the same decisions I made or took last year that led me to where I was. So apparently I wasn't healing or learning the lesson. In fact, in January, I put out a whole content around rest, God's design for us, But in actual sense, my circadian rhythm was a mess. My heart was still racing in worry at the future, wondering how my worth or my needs will be fulfilled and satisfied or taken care of. Wondering who I was when everything else has been stripped off of me. And then late February, God had orchestrated some opportunities my way that opened my eyes to the possibility of exciting new versions of me, this transition, this evolving. And I realized in hindsight, for the obtained time, by the way, that I really needed to relax and not be in a hurry, because really God does hold my world in his hands and cannot mismanage my life. He gave me the life in the first place, and in this season, because this is a current lesson I'm learning. It's like my eyes have been opened. I realized that some of the things I was frantically chasing in 2022, 2023, they were just falling quietly and neatly in my laps. I only needed to trust the process. And as I'm saying this, it just feels like, anybody should know this. It's just an easy lesson. But we forget. I was speaking with someone I consider a mentor the other day, and from our shared experiences, what we kept highlighting was the futility of the impatience that we express or demonstrate. As human beings, we're so much in a hurry. We're so impatient. We don't want to just pause and take in the days patiently and just watch God unfold his much better plans for us. And maybe that's why it's the psalmist here that says, teach me to number my days and apply my heart into wisdom. Because there is something to be said for the way that we live our lives now. There's nothing wise about it, constant hustle and bustle. This hamster wheel that does not quit. In fact, as we were speaking, she talked about an opportunity that happened, that had come her way, maybe like a couple years, and how nothing came out of it. And the next thing I just said, oh no, sometimes the doors that open or the windows that we get glimpses of aren't for our use of our entry. They are sometimes just designed or given to us to awaken us to what is possible. Because you see, we can be deaf to our capabilities. Sometimes God orchestrates grand scenarios, fruits that will be dangled before us that may not really amount to anything other than whetting your appetite for more, for for bigger, for scary realities outside of your comfort zone. And so the lesson there is, before you roll your eyes in regret or sigh at how something was just dangled before you but didn't really pan out, recognize that it was not just a flash in the pan. It happened for a reason. You really need to pause and just see that situation for what it was. And my goodness, even as I was speaking, I realized that it wasn't me speaking. God was using that conversation to crystallize this truth for me. That the experiences and the things I was either frantically pursuing before now, or confused about why they happened or didn't happen the way I envisioned them to happen, or why I was in a hurry for them to happen a particular way, whatever it was, regardless, the bigger lesson there was to just pause and see that situation for what it really was, and to also realize and understand and accept that there are some lessons that I would probably only learn in hindsight, and so I just need to give myself some grace, and that was quite a reality check. The book I'm currently reading, Eliminating Hurry Ruthlessly. That book is loaded with many gems. I'm barely halfway, and one of the recurring truths is this Finnish proverb that says, God did not create hurry. Hurry is actually antichrist, because the Bible calls us to walk with God, not run with God. And to walk with Jesus is to walk at an unhurried pace, because all through scriptures, all through the gospels, you don't see a Jesus that was frantic, And so this haste or this anxiety for what's next, in terms of accomplishment, acquisition, fulfillment, is really alien to the original nature or original design that God had in mind, right? Because it not only steals your attention from what's happening in the present, I beg your pardon, it steals your attention from God. The message of our culture or the world as we know it, it's clear. Whatever is slow is bad. The author of the book was saying how that if you walk into an establishment and the service is really slow, it's bad. We're constantly looking for machinery and mechanisms that make things faster. Fast food is good, So anything that is fast is good, anything that is slow is bad. Constantly asking ourselves, how much have you achieved? How many boxes have you ticked within this particular age bracket? Marriage, education, assets, status. But in this upside down kingdom that we belong to as believers of Christ, our value system is the other way around. Fast, hurry is not of God, it's of the devil. Think about it. Slow is really of Jesus. If hurry is opposite and antichrist and antithetical to Christ, then the opposite of that is what Jesus looks like. And Jesus is love. The writer of the book was giving an example about how when you're running late, think about how you're interacting with people in that moment. Irritability, you're snapping at people, you're glaring at people. Think about how all of those expressions, how further away they are from the picture of God that you're supposed to embody and look like. The writer even said that if you think about it, the reason why Apostle Paul, one of his defining qualities of love is patience. His love is patient, love is kind. So hurry is not patient, hurry is not kind. And if we're really called to embody the life of Christ and live like Christ, then hurry is alien to our nature. And I'm still getting the hang of this thing, frankly, learning to pause and say no when I catch my heart racing at an opportunity or a choice or a decision or an event or the demands of a person or even a situation. When I feel myself getting swallowed up by the urge to do, to be doing, to be producing. When my attention span starts racing at or fleeting at a frenetic pace, I'm learning to catch myself, to pause, to ask God to teach me to number my days, number my hours, number my minutes, number my seconds. And that really is the point or the point of this conversation or the lesson I want you to take away from today's conversation, that you adjust your lenses to see that there is another way to live life, that regardless of the season you currently are in, whether it's marriage that's front and center now, whether it's parenting, whether it's work, whether it's career, whether it's education, whatever it is, pause, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what is the current pace of my life doing to my soul? It could even be ministry, it could be church. Just ask yourself, what is the current pace of my life doing to my soul? Yes, I know I want to achieve this. I want to go back to school. I want to get this job so that I can earn this much, so that I can acquire this, or be able to afford this. But at what cost? You see, when you do this, when you're not in a haste to tick off certain boxes, achieve something, mark some activity, based off our idea of what progress is or should look like, you really are able to see clearly. You're really able to say yes or no to not just events and things, but the real you that God has designed to be. In this season of my life where God is training me to slow down, as hard as it is, I don't have the words to accurately describe how wonderful, how liberating, how freeing it is to be able to just see possibilities, to be able to express, from a place of dependence and leaning on His ability, and then just walk in the fullness of who He has fashioned me to be. And that's really my question for you today. How are you doing? Are you in a hurry? Long story short, ask yourself the hard questions. Do the hard work, the soul work. I'm rooting for you. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Toodles. Thank you, guys.